Okay, so that's how we're gonna do it like that, and I think it'll work out. Okay, so here's take two. Take one was pretty bad for this one, honestly. Didn't go so well, but I'm gonna try again. That's what second takes are for, right? You get another try, I guess. I mean, I do. But anyway, this video is about the medical aspects of mastering. And so that's not something you hear a lot. Audio mastering isn't really a medical kind of practice, generally speaking. This is something that I've discussed with some fellow engineers, a couple people, and I think it's pretty pertinent, you know, and it really goes without saying most of the time, okay, because at the point that it's causing a medical issue, for sure it doesn't sound good. Now the thing is that some people are so concerned with loudness, and once you learn how to really make it loud, you know, for real loud, because you can make stuff really loud. You know, people maybe go a little crazy with it, and then you're kind of, you know, returning their master to them, and they're kind of saying, well, this is quieter, right? And you kind of have to explain that they might have that preference, like, on their sound system, right? But I mean, now that's fine, right? And on a phone speaker, maybe that will sound better, because a lot of people of the members of the public have said this too. Certain amateur tracks are a lot punchier on my phone, you know, that kind of thing, than professional. The professional stuff's quieter. So why would that be, right? Because mastering's all about loudness, right? But it's, you know, really the loudest master is not the best one. The loudest sound isn't the best one. Up to a certain point, yes, and this is the crux of it. With the right frequency balance, we can bring up the volume to a very high level and still have it be pleasant. And it's very interesting how that works, because the balance of frequencies is what makes it be tolerable at that high volume. It's very interesting how it works, you know, because you could measure the individual frequencies, you know, and show that they're at a level which would be unpleasant if they were on their own, right? And if you took those, like the mid-range part of a club sound system, and, you know, if you band past the club system, right, that remaining mid-range is not pleasant. Like, it's horrible, you know. But in the context of the full rig, it's actually quite tolerable. I mean, people know this. You don't necessarily want to stand right by the speakers, but a properly set up club rig, you actually can stand right beside the speakers, and it doesn't hurt you. It's interesting how it actually kind of goes. But we have to set up the program material correctly. That's what mastering is for, right? I mean, so that it translates to that system. If you are making stuff for the club and everything, you know, you got to be able to drop everything in the club, right? DJs want to be able to play everything. Yeah, it's just important for it to work there. I think, you know, I personally think so. It makes sense. You may as well do it that way. Now, you know, to get back to the medical part, okay, because that's obviously just basic mastering, right? Get the frequency balance right. Now, the medical part, in the early 2000s, the U.S. government developed a sound weapon known as the LRAD, okay, and this, you know, people knew about this for a long time. Basically, they took a 1-inch tweeter, okay, capable of playing, I believe it's 1 inch. I'm not sure, I didn't look at all the dimensions, but this is how I did it, right? You use a 1-inch speaker, a rigid, very, very rigid, probably like aluminum or, you know, whatever, you know, metal tweeter, and, you know, you vibrate it, right, with electricity. This is just how a speaker works. It's very easy to do this. And you just basically pump a bunch of juice into it, and play the 2.5K tone is what the US government did. I did 3K. I find 3K to be more strident, a little more affecting, not high enough that it's leaving that kind of main kind of range there where we were really sensitive. But 3K works really well. 160 decibels, you direct that at someone, I mean, they melt, you know, it's just unbelievable. And that's dangerous. I mean, that's terrorism. And you know, that was bad that I did that. I kind of did it in a performance way where it was kind of surprising, and then it would go away after a bit, and we kind of did some stuff. We experimented with this back in the day. You know, the noise thing, right? You know, that's, I don't know if you remember that, but it's cool. It's still going on, probably. I don't know many people who are doing the, like, full-scale 3K sine wave thing anymore, though. Like, a few people used to do that, you know, but that really makes people scream. Like, that is like people just exit the venue. It's just like a flood. It's crazy. And I mean, great at crowd control, I mean, the fact that I did crowd control on my own crowd that I was trying to entertain is suspect. I was doing it in the context of a avant-garde performance with a homeless flute player who had he just found this flute in the garbage actually, but he was a great musician. He's a friend of mine. He's off and on homeless. No one's really like home in where I live. In the wintertime, people have to stay somewhere. You can't survive. So anyway, as we go forward, basically you got to really deal with that 2.53K range. I mean, everyone knows that, right? But that's a really, really sensitive range for people, and you need a sound system that translates that range really well, right? And so the thing is that like most two-way speakers, you're not really hearing that, right? If you have a crossover frequency that is too high, like if you have a crossover frequency, this is where crossover frequency comes into it, right? And hearing that mid-range properly, because basically once your stuff goes on the real system, it can be very damaging if you haven't attenuated those frequencies properly, because not every mix has it. Like some mixes need boost there. My mixes do, because I'm very tame in that area and then I kind of boost it afterwards. We all have our own process, right? It would be great if we could all just get it right in the mix. And the first part, get it right in recording, not have to mix, right? But I mean, really, it's good to be aware of what, that you can't do anything. There are rules. Those are my 2 rules. I haven't talked about them yet. The medical problem, okay, and that's generally high mid-range tones, and treble can to an extent, but especially high mid-range tones that are sustained and at a high RMS, right? Basically, that can be very, 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 very bad. At a high volume, it hurts, and it can deafen you forever, right? And the other one is the mechanical issue, and that's generally with very low frequencies is where that causes that problem. And basically, like if a mix has like a clipped element or something, I mean, there's so many problems that they could have, but those might be reasons I would return the mix: a mechanical or medical problem, not an aesthetic one. You can't return a mix due to an aesthetic issue. And basically, it is up to you as an engineer to recognize whether there is a mechanical or medical problem. And otherwise, you only want to enhance the artist's vision, right? You don't want to be changing the aesthetic in any way at all, right? And so it's problematic, and that's why, very few engineers can work on noise music, because it's very hard to translate those crazy dissonant, harsh ideas into a way that actually can be, played at a volume where it works, and it's weird, it's very challenging, because noise is such a big part of our palette now in audio. Distortion is very common, really. Like distortion is maybe not even what you think. Like any effect you apply could be understood as a distortion, really. Distortion just means a change, actually, from the pure audio, which was never pure in the first place as soon as it hit the microphone, right? So all audio is distorted. Like, that's kind of a basic thing. Like, so distortion is kind of a lesser issue than too much resonance, okay? And that's basically too much of a single frequency, especially in the higher mid-range. In the modern days, okay, we basically say below 90 hertz, below 100 hertz. Some people below 120 hertz. I mean, it depends where you go, or you put your sub cutoff. Then you're allowed to have pure tones. We figured this out. Pure tones below a certain frequency, for me, it's like below 70. Below 70, I think, if you're going to do that. But pure tones, pure sine waves, you can do them at those low frequencies. You can. And it's okay. It sounds good, actually. It sounds cool if you mix them right. That's what an 808 is, right? So, but if you have an 808, if you've taken, like, I mean, if you take that same sound, like an 808 sine wave, and put that at, 600 hertz, like that's horrifying. It's just horrible, And so, basically, once you get low enough, you can let it rip. You can go have super high RMS content of a single frequency. But this is really an important thing, for sure above 200 hertz. Below 200 hertz, you're pretty safe. Above 150 hertz, you're going to start getting a lot of mud. Between 80 and 150 hertz, you're going to get what I call the kind of the chesty thing, which is cool. I mean, in a dance music way, you don't always want that. there's different things. But really above 200 hertz, if you have any frequencies that have a really high RMS load, like that's the average level of that frequency, it's bad. And that's really important to attenuate those without causing phase issues. And if you want to learn how to do that, you can contact me. Or whatever. There's the pitch or something. Thank you.